Hi, I'm Jenna from Iowa, and I live in an enchanted forest. But before I tell you my story, please like and subscribe. I live with my grandma. Our house is surrounded by mighty oaks and massive branches that intertwine and create a massive green fence, and all around it is a thick-set realm of healing herbs. My granny makes magical infusions and elixirs from them for many different diseases. So our house is always full of guests and people in need to help have trodden a wide road through the thick forest jungle. And no wonder, since childhood my eyes, green like Granny's herbs, have seen so many miracles. Her potions made blind people recover their sight and mute people begin to speak. Those who lost their memory remember their name for the first time in many years. From an early age, I helped my grandma collect herbs and believed in their magical properties. Granny, what herb infusion will help me to learn to fly? Or is there some kind of herb mix that will temporarily turn me into a huge bird? And I also urgently need to learn how to breathe underwater. I want to see exactly where dolphins live deep at the bottom. You know some herbs, right? I asked my grandmother. She coughed to hide her smile and answered seriously. Gina, unfortunately, I don't know such a plant. But I will say one thing for sure. Everyone can do miracles in their life and accomplish the impossible, but only if they're truly happy. Legends are usually told about such people. Despite the fact that I lived in the forest, I went to a regular school and was well connected with my peers. In addition, my grandma's magical concoctions helped me grow up healthy and full of energy. And I did well in all my classes with no problems. Although we didn't have a computer or any other smart gadgets at home, Grandma was convinced the chanting of birds and reading of books was much more useful to me. School years flew by one after another, and I went to high school. The first day didn't stand out in any particular way until I heard a bitter cry coming from the toilet. Then I found my friend Wendy. She'd hid under the sink and wiped her tears away with the sleeves of her oversized wool sweater. She must be so hot, I thought, and asked my friend what had happened. It turned out that a guy named Travis offended her. He was a senior who just transferred to our school. That nasty Travis called her a pimply cow and said that no one would ask such an ugly girl out for a date, and that I'll die a lonely old maid, Wendy complained while sobbing loudly. Before I even had time to answer, the toilet door swung open, and behind it stood an angry math teacher. It turned out we were late for class, and for this we were given detention. When we were sitting in a stuffy and boring detention classroom, we suddenly saw Travis. He was helping low-performing students with their English. While Wendy was angrily hissing something into my ear, I couldn't take my eyes off this senior student, and even open my mouth. There was something dear and familiar about him, although I saw him for the first time. Travis smugly sat down right on our desk and asked me, "Why are you staring at me like that, she-wolf?" That kind of arrogance made me boil up inside, and I snapped out that decent guys didn't behave like that. And they don't say nasty things like he said to my friend Wendy. Don't panic, she-wolf, you're much prettier than her. I would even say a girl in a million. And I sincerely feel sorry for you that freak is your friend. I'd like to invite you on a date. What do you say? My heart treacherously sped up, and my palms got sweaty, and huge butterflies started fluttering in my stomach. At that moment, I felt like more than anything in the world I wanted to go on a date with Travis. And this sincere desire made me so angry, because this jerk publicly insulted my friend Wendy. Go away, and don't you dare approach us ever again. I rudely responded to Travis's invitation. He winked, and with the words, "Think about it, she-wolf," returned to his low performers. After this, I was baffled and felt guilty towards my friend. I liked the guy who offended her. To get rid of my discomfort, I invited Wendy to my place for my grandma's delicious pie. And when we were in my room, I decided to talk about it once more to finally be done with all the awkward questions. Wendy, Travis is a total idiot, and you can be sure I'll definitely never go on a date with him, I said to my friend. Of course, you can't go on a date with anyone, Wendy said sympathetically. Unless, of course, you want to become a laughingstock, this Travis would definitely make fun of you in some way and embarrass you in front of the whole school. Well, why do you think so? I was confused. In response, my friend smirked and led me to the mirror. Look at you, your hair is always tangled and your eyes are the color of swamp mud. Why do you think Travis calls you she-wolf all the time? Exactly. Don't be offended by the truth. You have a wild look, as if you're from the woods, or even a nut house. And the skin, just look at your skin. Why are there spots all over your body? There are freckles. Grandma says it's because the sun loves me. Yeah, but it looks more like marks throughout nasty acne. See, it's not just like my skin. You have to accept that you're as ugly as me. And stop dreaming about boys. I didn't know how to react. And when Wendy left, I started watching my favorite videos on the MSP channel to somehow distract myself. They have so many fascinating stories, and after a while, I completely forgot about the misunderstanding with my friend. The next day outside my classroom, I saw Travis waiting for me with a bouquet in his hands. I didn't know how to react, and he awkwardly handed me the flowers and said, "She-Wolf, you're so beautiful that I get lost at the sight of you. And looking into your green eyes, I begin to blush. Everything about you is cool, except for one thing. You have bad taste in choosing friends." I was about to say something crude when he went on about Wendy again, and then Travis added, "You're the healer's granddaughter. She saved the life of someone very dear to me." Hearing about my grandmother, everything warmed up inside me. But before I could answer anything, Wendy suddenly showed up, grabbed my hand, and dragged me off to the toilet. There, out of her backpack, she took a huge woolen sweater like the one she had on and started putting it on me. "What's happening? Why would I need the sweater? It's so hot," I asked my friend. "Jenna, I just want to help you," Wendy replied. "Who's going to take care of you if not your best friend? Look at your skin. It's terrible. I thought you understood everything yesterday, and there's no need to explain anything anymore. Wendy, I don't need such help as this horrible sweater. I've brought my friend down a little. My skin's fine." I started to avoid Wendy, and when I got home from school, I went to the mirror and began to examine myself. And it looked like Wendy was right. My whole body was completely covered in freckles. Not just freckles, horrible spots. And they actually looked like bad acne. The next day, I wore my grandmother's huge sweater to school and wrapped a scarf around my face. It was very stuffy and hot, but I felt safe where no one would see my skin. But I noticed that other students were whispering and chuckling, looking in my direction. And one classmate couldn't resist and joked, "Do you know who this suspicious girl is? I've never seen her before. I'm sure that it is she who steals the first graders' pocket money that their parents give them for lollipops and ice cream," he said and laughed really loud. But then Wendy attacked him like an angry tigress. "Listen to you. There's nothing wrong with people hiding their imperfections under their clothes. You have no idea how hard it is to be as ugly as me and Jenna. And people like you poison our lives." At that moment, I felt like I was on the set of a scandalous TV show. Suddenly, Travis showed up out of nowhere, grabbed Wendy by the shoulders, and started shaking her so that her head went dangling in different directions like a rag doll. Then I yelled so loudly that the principal came running and gave everyone a warning. I came to my senses only at home, where my granny gave me a strong herbal tea to help with my anxiety. I fell asleep sweetly, and the next day, the first thing I did was hide the ugly sweater in the attic. I went to the mall instead of school. I was late for class, but I came to school wearing a stunning sundress. I was glowing, and I looked like myself so much that I felt like every freckle was beautiful again, and the whole world adored me. It's so wonderful to be yourself and not worry about anything. It doesn't matter what Wendy or anyone else thinks of me, I thought when I met Travis. "You're so beautiful," he said simply and honestly. "You took off that awful sweater and got your old magnificence back." I smiled and replied that I thought about his invitation and agreed to go on a date with him. I said it without remorse. After all, Wendy was not behaving in a nice way towards me. Do friends act like that? That day, Travis and I walked around the school holding hands, and we were the center of everyone's attention. Yes, we were an awesome couple and looked great together. And in the evening, he picked me up in a luxury limousine and took me to the most expensive restaurant on the roof of a skyscraper. We danced in the open air, and then Travis kissed me and asked me to be his girlfriend, and I agreed. And then he told me that he was crazy rich. He hardly tells anyone about this. It's important for him that people appreciate his personal qualities, not his big money. He also told me that he'd written a novel called She-Wolf, and one of the storylines was about love, and Travis would really like me to pose for a book cover photo for him. According to him, a beauty like me will increase sales. For this book, I will get at least $1 million in net profit. I promise you half of it if you agree to the photo shoot. You look just like the heroine of my novel. When I was writing this book, I couldn't imagine that I would meet such a girl in real life. I made you up, She-Wolf, my boyfriend said softly. And of course, I agreed. That evening, I couldn't help but ask Travis a question that tormented me for a long time. Why do you dislike Wendy so much and bully her all the time? It's a sad story. In elementary school, your nightmarish friend went to a different school together with my little sister and bullied her like hell. For my baby sister, it was such a stress that she developed a mental disorder. The doctors had the most terrible predictions. They refused to treat her, and their only solution was to isolate her from society and settle her into a psychiatric hospital. Travis sincerely shared his pain. According to him, such a decision was unacceptable for his parents, and they took their daughter to my grandmother, a healer. After a month of taking healing potions, reason and clarity returned to the girl's mind. She got stronger and came to her senses, and doctors still don't believe that such miracles are possible. And that's why I hate Wendy, and I don't understand how you can be friends with her. When I first saw you, I immediately knew you were special, he said sweetly. After this wonderful evening, I was just flying in the air in anticipation of the photo shoot, which was scheduled in a month, until one moment, once I was combing my hair and suddenly I saw that it was falling out in clumps. I got hysterical, and I rushed to my grandmother hoping she had a concoction that would help me. But I was disappointed. It turned out that all the women in our family lose their hair at 16 years old. It's a genetic disease, and no potion can fix the problem. Telling about this, my grandma pulled on her red, thick hair, which I saw. The smooth skin on her head turned out she'd been wearing a wig for years. Exactly a month later, my head looked the same, but I wasn't ashamed of my new hairstyle, and neither was my boyfriend Travis. He said that I looked stylish. Together, we appeared on the cover of the book, and it was sold in millions of copies around the world. One day in my senior year, Wendy approached me. She had a short haircut and was holding a wig made from her own long, beautiful hair. Gina, this is for you. Your example of self-love is so inspiring. After your photo shoot, I realized a lot and I want to change my life. Girlfriend, I've missed you so much. We cried and hugged.